This copy of Cruz Brothers was provided for free by DCF Studios.
Are you ready? Are you ready? So let's get it on!
I used to believe that fighting games were best left to the professionals with major budgets, but after having played Skullgirls and even Dive Kick, I've come to appreciate the creativity that can come to the genre. Unfortunately, that's not the case with Cruz Brothers, which will be remembered by those who play it for its awkward story and awful physics. It's probably not the worst fighting game out there, but it's certainly not for lack of trying. Marcus Luz runs a boxing club, and his star student, Ryan, was just invited to the most prestigious title bout in the world, the Pride Fists.
Now that he had been invited to the biggest boxing event on the planet, the Pride Fists.
However, a street brawl quickly turns deadly, and Ryan is murdered before his dreams could be achieved. 2 years later, a downtrodden Marcus is approached by two up-and-coming boxers, the Cruz Brothers, and training them will give Marcus the opportunity to atone for his past. The general setup of the story isn't that bad. You have an easy premise to work with, and the characters have logical motivations. Everything else about the story, and the game as a whole, is completely absurd.
You did very well in the last one, but pay attention to Azazel. He has a big reach. When he gives you an opening, you run him over.
Ah yes, Azazel's powerful long reach, and his freaking energy blast. Nearly everyone in this game has superpowers, and no one ever mentions it. The police show up to break a fight, but one of the guys is capable of literally shooting lightning out of his hands. But this never comes up in the story or happens in the cutscenes. Coupled with the semi-realistic art style, this creates an odd juxtaposition that does not work well in the game. And aside from that, the acting and writing are just embarrassing.
Fuck the booze and fuck Trace Sorrow. You're gonna fight Miguel D. And after that, straight to the top, kid.
You're making me tear up, Master.
Tear up? You mean tear up? The gameplay does not fare much better. It's a one-on-one fighting game with its roots in boxing, but the controls and the physics are a bit of a mess. There's a fast attack, a walk attack, which just propels you forward a little while punching, and two different strong attacks. This is all despite the fact that there are no high or low attacks, no cross-ups to attack behind your opponent, no grab attacks, no jumping, or many other fighting game staples. 4 different attack buttons, and you only ever attack from the front. At that point, it might as well just be 2 different attack buttons instead. Or at least let me differentiate between the head and body blows. This is boxing after all. There's a dial-a combo system similar to Mortal Kombat, as well as special moves. But I could never pull those off, which I feel is usually a sure sign of a bad fighting game. Seriously, the timing for these special moves reminds me a lot of Street Fighter 1. What is interesting, however, is the way that blocking is implemented. Blocking normally will deplete your stamina bar upon taking hits, while holding down the motion dodge button, which is like a secondary block, will make you invulnerable while constantly depleting your stamina. It's actually kind of a neat idea, and it helps Cruz Brothers stand out from the crowd. Both forms of blocking have their place depending on the circumstance, but in practice, the game doesn't really do a whole lot with this mechanic. Most of the time you just block normally, and then you resort to the motion dodge if your opponent does a specific special attack. I feel like there might be something here with this mechanic, but Cruz Brothers isn't the venue for it. The actual combat is weird as hell and difficult to describe. Walking and dashing feel extremely unnatural. It's more like characters are just sliding along the ground. I also found it useful to simply alternate between the walk and strong attacks, as the CPU rarely interrupted me for some reason. I don't know if it legitimately could not be escaped out of, but it only ended up making battles boring. The story mode's 27 fights are a cakewalk as long as you don't get surprised by the opponent's super moves, some of which can take a good 90% of health in one shot. But of course, you're free to use your own as well. Aside from the story mode, there's the championship mode, which is like a traditional arcade mode. There's versus against the AI or another player locally, and an extremely limited training mode. There's also the optional Spetsnaz party, which is a 2-on-2 mode, but it does not work. It is complete and absolute chaos. Perhaps most strangely, above all else somehow, is the absence of any online multiplayer, although this has been announced as coming in a later update, at least for the Steam version. Needless to say, fighting games really need that element of human interaction, that one-on-one between human opponents, in order to really open up their capabilities. But either way, I can't imagine that there's a whole lot under the hood here. So much effort went into this game, but in all the wrong places. From what I can tell, an independent artist was contracted for the game's artwork, which doesn't necessarily look that great anyway. Each character can be customized with a variety of clothes, and there's even a fully voiced theme song.
Foco na meta, esse é o caminho do atleta, superando a si mesmo como se fosse poeta. Que não falta talento, falta alguém pra lapidar. Diamantes brutos que cerram punhos nos fundos de bar.
None of these things are a big deal on their own, and they don't do a whole lot to elevate the game's status. But on top of all of that, the base game itself is absolute trash. This sunset might look nice, but it also makes the game harder to see. That is, if audience members in the foreground don't completely obstruct your view. This is Fighting Game 101. Make the action clear and visible. It's never fun, nor is it fair for anyone involved when the players get blinded. I don't think there's really any way to save this game anyway. Between the controls and the animations, it's completely broken on a fundamental level. Even the camera can't sit still and will sometimes shake like crazy. The absolute only reason to play this game is for the completely bonkers story.
Trey Sorrow, you motherfucker. You and I have unfinished business.
Today I will arrange a meeting between you and your beloved student. What was his name again? Ryan, right? Tell him I said hi, you fucker.
It's honestly so bad that it's good. But even that isn't in any way worth the price of admission. If you're looking for a fighting game, then pretty much any other option out there today is a better choice, either for hardcore or for casual players. Cruz Brothers is just a waste of time and little else.
You and me, boy, until we bleed out. This is not your gym. We're the backyard brawlers, motherfucker!
Thank you for watching my review of Cruz Brothers. If you'd like to be updated on my future videos, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter, or check out my page on Critic.